Okay, we're live. All right, good morning, Carlos.
Hey, good morning,
Good morning to
Margaret.
our viewers. So, I was a little hungry and my mom wanted to go eat. So, we're actually at Kitchen Mouse right now in Highland Park.
Oh, well, my, I have to go over there. I heard some good
Yeah.
things about that place.
Oh, yeah, the food's really good here. So, yeah. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about. I just want to welcome everyone to the show. You're watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I'm your co-host, Margot Pius, and over there, that's Carlos Marroquin, the amazing grassroots organizer. And so, Carlos, why don't we get started? Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yes, yes. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody, wherever you may be watching us from. Good to be here. It's sunny outside, beautiful, gorgeous day in Southern California. People envy us because of the weather. I gotta say, this weather today is just, oh my God, amazing. I went for a walk today. After being a little bit ill the last couple of weeks, but I actually took a little walk and then went and had breakfast. And so I feel good. I feel, at peace, very important. And I'm ready to talk some politics. Uh, People think that I love politics. I actually hate politics, but it's out of necessity that we engage into the world of politics because of the issues that we're fighting for. Today we have a lot to talk about, but as Margaret said at the beginning of the podcast, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. We celebrate Indigenous People Day. And that's what we should be celebrating. Tomorrow is a holiday. We don't observe that. We denounce that. This is all about the Indigenous Peoples Day. And we celebrate that every single day. This is their land. We are here uh, because of, again, all the history that took place against the Native Americans. So our hearts, our attention, our focus, our everything is on Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yes, it's such an important holiday to recognize, especially when we consider that the effects of colonialism are still being felt today. What, 400 years later or so? So the struggle continues amongst the indigenous people, amongst all people of color who have been colonized, and we have to keep fighting for the justice that they deserve.
We have to look. There are there are 13 states, 13 states that do not observe Columbus Day. So that's important. It's not huge, but that's important. But since I believe it was 1981 that it was the first official. Let me get that straight because I don't want to give wrong information. But look, Columbus Day was officially observed back in the days, and um, we have issues because, again, the colonization continues to happen, and there's the struggles with the indigenous people. Some states have moved towards recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, but not everyone feels the same way, and it's very important to us to understand that some of the states that do not recognize Indigenous People Day, Alaska, excuse me, that don't recognize Columbus Day, that would be Alaska, Hawaii, Iowa, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, New Mexico, North Carolina, Oregon, South Dakota, Vermont, Washington, D.C., Wisconsin, South Dakota. Although South Dakota just celebrates the Indigenous People Day instead of Columbus Day. They have not made that official. But let's understand that this has been going on for a long time. Uh, Columbus Day became a legal holiday in 1971, and in 1977 was the first time the Indigenous Peoples Day was considered during a United Nations conference. So South Dakota celebrated the first Indigenous Peoples Day in the year of 1982. There has been some progress. There are cities like Los Angeles that recognizes Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. Very important for us here in Southern California. So again, we recognize, we see you, we understand the place in history where the massacres, the violations, the abuses, the murders took place, and today we need to reflect on that. We need to tomorrow on the holiday we need to reflect on what really happened, what we are observing.
Yeah, and I hope that other states who have not yet
Can you
switched
hear me,
over
Margaret?
to celebrate. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Carlos?
I might have lost you there for a minute.
Okay, am I okay now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah,
You're
so
good to go.
hopefully okay. Yeah, so hopefully the other states will soon join on and adopt this as as their holiday over Columbus Day.
Right.
So
Uh,
Carlos, what go ahead.
so some of the stuff that we need to talk about today that is really important, we need to be paying attention because as the pandemic rages on, we are seeing something develop that is really interesting, very interesting. We know that workers have been struggling for a long, long time, whether it's working conditions, whether it's wages, whether it's unemployment, whether it's people working two, three jobs to try to make ends meet, all those things relating to workers, workers' rights, abuses, uh, a gazillion things on relating to workers. What we are what we are seeing because of the pandemic is people are rethinking, when it comes to their work. People are rethinking, careers. People are rethinking the way they're being treated at many of the places of employment. And we are seeing a lot of people literally walking out of their jobs. They don't like it. They're raising wages for some of these workers, especially the fast food places, restaurants. For the first time, we are seeing that there's a turnaround where they're actually trying to give things to workers, trying to give them more, and workers are rejecting it. But it's not only the food industry. There's other industries, the garment industry. You have people like in the post office. I just retired from the post office, and I can tell you this: it's a mess in there. It's a complete mess. Even though that they may pay a little bit better than a lot of other jobs, people are walking out of their jobs. They don't like what's going on. The long hours. You remember for a long time, they used to eliminate jobs, and people used to pile. The work was piled up on people. People were carrying two or three other people's jobs on top of theirs. So now people are realizing that we've been getting screwed for a long time. And it's not really about the money for some people. They just don't like the conditions and the way they have been treated for a long time. The fact that the profit all these corporations makes huge profits, and nothing is given to the people. Very little. The crumbs,
Carlos,
fall down from off the table. So people are walking out. So the reason why I say that this is very and we need to be paying attention is because we may be entering into a workers' labor revolution.
so Carlos, what do you think has changed that's pushing people to start rejecting
Go ahead,
these
Margaret. I
job
think there's a
offers?
delay.
I said, what do you think is putting workers, or what do you think is shifted in which workers are starting to feel like?
Well, like I say, I think that conditions at work, part of what they are experiencing and what they are seeing and what's causing them to walk out of this job are work site conditions, the way they're being treated. Sometimes workers are humiliated. Work has been piled up on them, and a lot is expected of them. And sometimes the pressures of being at a job site are enormous. Again, I'm talking for experience here with letter carriers. Letter carriers, they at one point they eliminated a lot of routes, a lot of positions, and the routes were made longer. We have letter carriers walking out there at 10 o'clock at night delivering mail. It's insanity. They don't last. They work a month and they see, yeah, they get a nice paycheck, but then they see the conditions that they are put on. They'd rather walk away and find something else. So I'm anticipating that this may grow and spread into other industries. And everything is pointing towards a workers' revolution, labor revolution, which I think is this is the time. If there's anything that needs to happen within the work the labor movement, the time is now. The time is now. We saw what happened. The entertainment industry workers. 95% of the workers voted yes for a strike. 95%. That tells you a lot. So we need to be paying attention for that because, we are going to see more people striking. We're going to see more demands, for workers' rights. So it's good. I say it's good because it's about time workers wake up.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, and I think that for a long time that we've been wondering when the labor movement is going to rebuild itself, and for a while it seemed like this was going to take much longer. But if there's any hope of accelerating that process, now is the time to see that kind of acceleration, because we are, like we said, we're facing kind of a deadline with regards to climate change, and worker issues are also a climate change issue. So I'm very excited to hear what you're saying, especially about these industry workers, the film industry workers, that over 90% of them voted in favor of the strike. That's absolutely phenomenal. Are they planning to strike?
Well, what I'm hearing is that everything is set and they're ready to strike if the need be. Right now, they are in negotiations with the industry, and they're prepared to do what it takes. So I'm speaking to one of the I was speaking to one of the presidents of one of the locals, and she said, "I never seen this kind of excitement amongst the workers. They prepared to do this. They know that yes, they're going to take a hit, but they've been taking a hit for a long time, as she told me. The workers have been hurting for a long time, so they have nothing to lose. In other words, that's what they told me. So this is huge. Businesses, as many as are reporting that as many as 90% of candidates that apply don't even turn out for the job. They apply for it, and then I think that they rethinking, and they don't even, you know, uh, they don't turn out for the job. 90%. That's what business that came out today.
So
So
where are they go? What
they
are they
basically
going someplace else?
well, that's
Are these
interesting
people who are
because
applying?
I think
Mm-hmm.
yeah, people are applying, but they're not showing up to work. They like reconsider it. They're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stick it out longer because it's not worth it. They really this is what we see in the interesting thing that's happening. The change that's taking place. Something's happening out there. Restaurants are having a hard time getting people to stay on their jobs. Last week, well, actually, this past week, I get up early at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, and I usually go have breakfast early. I could not find a restaurant open. I looked everywhere, Hollywood, North Hollywood, like the Valley. I was everywhere looking for a restaurant open that I can have breakfast. Everything opens at 10 o'clock in the morning. I asked one of the managers, why? Says, we don't have the staff. We are forced to cut hours. So again, these are consequences of
So,
long conditions against
Carlos,
workers.
the the extended unemployment benefits, didn't that expire already? So
Right.
what are people going into a different business sector rather than the service sector?
Yeah, that's part of the stuff that's happening. It's like people, they've been working in whatever industry, and then they realize, I've been killing myself here. I'm just gonna go back to school. I'm gonna continue to live off my savings. I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna do my jobs on the side. That's what some of the people are doing. I'm not surprised at all, Market. I'm not surprised, and we should not be surprised because again, the conditions that people have been forced to work under are outrageous. When you're doing when you're doing two and three people's jobs and still being paid the same, and you still don't have enough to buy medicine or to buy food, and all your money goes to rent, and then you're forced to work a second, a third job, those days are over. People are not going to take that no more. They end up on the street. I talk to people that live on the street that are unhoused, and they tell me, why should I go get a job just so that I can turn the check to someone else? I have heard people tell me that. So literally, I'm working for somebody, and I don't have nothing left. So again, these are the things that we need to understand that are happening. And for us as a progressive movement, we need to continue to push, and we need to demand workers' rights. We need to demand people be able to have time with their families. CEOs, executives, they take a whole month vacation, while the workers are given a week vacation. And sometimes they cancel their vacations because they want production. They want productions. They do give them the pay, but everybody needs rest. Everybody needs to enjoy a moment in life. It's not all about work, work, work. So those are the things that we are seeing. We're gonna see more of it. Keep your eyes open, because again, all signs are leading to a general strike, and that may end up happening in a lifetime, where
Yeah,
people everywhere walk out.
yeah, and I think that the the decades of deregulating the labor market are finally really coming to a breaking point where people have completely had enough because they're no longer being treated like human beings, they're being treated like machines. And my prime example is the way Amazon treats its workers, but also even with Tesla, for example, during the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, the state of California, basically went into a kind of lockdown. Everything, you're not allowed to go to work, and Elon Musk defied the orders, and still he told his employees, "You need to come in and build these cars." So I think this has been a real wake up call where people have realized that nobody has their back except for themselves.
You're absolutely correct. And that's what we are seeing right now. And we need to realize that if we don't unite, if we don't stand together, those billionaires, those corporations will continue to give us crumbs. They make record numbers in profits, record numbers, as we have never seen before. Yet they were fighting just to give, an extra dollar for the essential workers. They didn't take care of the essential workers. The first chance that they had to take away that one extra dollar that they were getting, they took it away. They took it away. Some of them didn't even get that. They were in the front lines working, putting their lives on the line. Yet they didn't get a single dollar extra. So yes, I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing, because I think that, workers, once they unite and once they stand together, we can put high demands. We don't want an extra dollar. We don't want $15 an hour. We should be getting $30, $40 an hour, according to today's economy. For a long time, we've been pushing for $15 an hour. I think those days are over. Those days are completely over. When we realize that even if you get $15 an hour, that cannot give you enough to house your family. That's not enough. Everything, whatever, they have no problem hiking out the prices, not a dollar. Sometimes it's $5, $10, just overnight. Why is it that we don't have wages being hiked overnight either? No, they have to have this committee, and they have to do some research, and it has to go through this and through that, a whole bunch of nonsense. In the meantime, years go by and people are still in the same situation. So we need to change that. It needs to change. And I think it's coming. Changes are coming.
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's a lot of external forces, I think, also putting pressure, which is like housing. There's a housing crisis. There's so much speculation in the housing market where people can no longer afford to buy a home. And I got an email recently from RJ Eskow. He does his own show. He's also based out in LA. And he was saying that, the American dream used to be to own a home, and now it's just to have a roof over your head. And there's a whole eviction crisis coming too, that we haven't even seen the worst of yet, where millions of people can end up homeless. So I think people are really, really fed up. And as you said, prices have also been rising. There's absolutely issues with inflation. And part of that is that there's a huge crisis with the logistics of the supply chain. We've exported all of our jobs, all of our manufacturing overseas, so we are completely dependent on these ocean networks to bring in products that we need on a daily basis. And without them, there's increased demand versus the amount of that product. So you're going to see a rise in prices. And workers are absolutely the first people to feel this. So, yeah, I mean, if they don't feel fed up now, I mean, they will be fed up soon enough, because the situation is not getting any better.
Exactly. So keep your eye on the labor movement. Keep your eyes on the workers movement. I think that unions need to be paying close attention, and they need to. Right now, I'm hoping that they are bringing all their leaders together, and they start like really putting themselves in a position of strength by uniting everybody, and reaching out to the membership, and making sure that they are listening to the membership. And that goes to our union leaders. Union leaders need to listen to the membership The union bosses, the union leaders had taken care of themselves and forgotten the members. We need to unite. We need to be looking out for the membership. We need to make sure that we are listening to them because they are the reason why unions exist. And the last thing we need is people walking out of the unions. We need to excite the membership. We need to excite the workers. We need to excite the labor movement. We need to show how strong we can be when we are united. And that starts with leadership. That starts with the leadership. So my love to the labor movement, my love to those brothers and sisters that have labored so hard to get us where we are and have done a marvelous job. But there are some that are lacking, and they're lacking really bad. And you need to think about the people that you represent, and you need to hold on and tighten up your belt, put your shoulders back, and you need to move forward, and you need to lead, and you need to represent, and you need to be forceful in your demands, and you need to be strategic in your organizing and not be intimidated by these corporations. And I think that we're going to be in great shape, because of good leaders that are within the labor movement. But for those that are weak, those that only think of themselves, you need to catch on, and you need to get it together, or you should be voted out, and get somebody else that is willing to do the work for the workers.
Absolutely,
Can you hear
Carlos.
me?
Yeah. Do am I
For some
still
reason, there seems to be a delay in the conversation.
Yeah, there is a delay. Is this any better without my camera on? Is it any better if I don't have my camera on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I thought there would be Wi-Fi here and there isn't, so I apologize. This was a terrible idea. But uh can you hear me okay?
I can hear you clear.
Okay, let's just do it without the video for now. So yeah, absolutely agree on everything you said. We really need to push. People need to really organize and unite. That's the only way. Workers are extremely powerful when they come together, and it's just a matter of workers realizing that they have that power when they withhold their labor.
Right. So, Marja, we need to move on. There's things that we need to be talking about, and especially our big announcement.
Yeah, so you want to talk about the Rose Parade announcement first?
Yes. So, very excited to break the news today. We are going to be disclosing what we are going to be on on this upcoming Rose Parade, January 1st, 2022. As you know, the Rose Parade happens to be one of the biggest parades in the world. There's millions of people that watch it. We've been, for the past 10 years, we have been at the Rose Parade, marching behind the Rose Parade. We are not officially part of the Rose Parade. We call the the events that we do on that day of January 1st, New Year's Day, is the People's Rose Parade March. And what we do is we focus on issues that are very important to the people. There are many issues that we need to highlight. There's many issues. We have housing, we have homelessness, we have healthcare, we have education, we have all kinds of issues that we could highlight on this coming year. But the world cannot wait. Climate action now is what this upcoming Rose Parade March will be about. We are going to be focusing all of our attention during the Rose Parade on climate action now. The theme of our Rose Parade March will be the world cannot wait. We can be fighting about other stuff, but if the world continues to go in the trajectory that it's going, we cannot wait. We need to do something. So we are demanding, we're going to be putting a set of demands. We are going to be highlighting climate change. We will be highlighting the need for us to be able to take direct action into climate change. Or else, it doesn't matter what we're fighting for, whether it's education, healthcare, or whatever, it won't matter because we will have no world to live in. It's being destroyed, it's deteriorating, it's falling apart. We need to take this serious. So this upcoming year at the Rose Parade, we are going to be talking climate change. In about a week or two, we are going to be holding a press conference so that we can announce, our intentions to march behind the Rose Parade to highlight again the world cannot wait, to highlight climate change, to highlight climate action now. That's what we're going to be doing. So we are going to be holding a press conference. We have so many great ideas of what we are going to do, how we are going to put a visualization. We're going to visualize the Rose Parade with great props, some amazing props that we are thinking of creating. It's going to be the place to be. Pasadena, California, January 1st is going to be the place to be at. You want to come, wherever you hear us from. We already have spoken with great organizations like the Sunrise Movement. They are we are working with other organizations I've been in touch with that are going to be jumping on board. And we are going to start a strategic planning for this. I am working with the city officials. We're working with the city officials of Pasadena. We want to make sure that we provide a safe environment, but our presence is going to be important. Your presence is going to be important. We are going to be giving you details on this, on how you can get involved, but we are expecting people coming from other states to join us on this important march that we are going to do for climate change. The world cannot wait. Our cities cannot wait. Our oceans cannot wait. Our deserts cannot wait. Our states cannot wait. Our world cannot wait. We need climate change action now. Margaret, anything else you
Yes.
want to add to that?
Well, Carlos, this is just amazing. I'm so excited for this Rose Parade March. The world absolutely cannot wait. We're running out of time. We have less than 10 years to try to keep the global climate under 1.5 degrees Celsius. So I really recommend that people come out and participate in this big action and to bring attention to the issue of climate change, because climate change, it's not a separate issue. It's an issue that is intertwined with every other issue that we have. It's a workers issue. It's a water issue. It's a it's an agricultural issue. It's a housing issue. It's an migration issue. It's a health issue. It's a pandemic issue. All of these things are interconnected. And if we realize that, we can realize that climate change is the umbrella issue for everything else. So if we organize around climate change, we're actually able to organize around everything else as well. Because if we can solve the issue around climate change and keeping the planet from warming beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, then we're going to actually be able to solve many other issues simultaneously, because we can no longer have endless economic growth. If we put an end to endless economic growth, we're actually going to be able to have affordable housing again, because speculation and rising interest, and I'm sorry, not rising interest rates, but the making money off of interest, which is what a mortgage does, it's only possible if you have endless economic growth. So if we put a cap on that, then housing prices have to stop getting higher, more expensive, and out of reach of the working class people. So these are all things that we have to keep in mind. And every time, and so long as our economy keeps growing, we're going to be depleting our natural resources. Our natural resources are finite. So that's what we have to understand, that climate change is the umbrella issue. It's connected to everything else. And if we can solve it, we will solve all the other issues as well. So I am so excited, Carlos, that you're doing this, that people are organizing around this. It gives me great joy to hear that Sunrise is involved. And I really hope that people, if they don't participate in the Rose Parade action, that they find another climate action to participate in, because we really do need all hands on deck for this. And if you can't show up, then please give money to an organization that is working on it, like the Sunrise Movement, like 350, and others. Carlos.
Yes, so we are having our first meetings. We're gonna start coming together. I know my comrade Michelle Manos. I'm gonna be working with her on some of the logistics, but we're gonna need help, and we need your creativity. We're gonna bring the artists so that they can help us create some beautiful props. Your talent is needed. This is all about being creative and sending a visual message to the world that the world cannot wait. So I am. You have no. You cannot believe how excited I am about this. I organized quite a few Rose Parade marches, but this one by far, I think is going to top the rest that we have done because of the urgency uh, that we are facing in this world. Everybody's talking about it, whether it's the president, Biden, he's talking about climate change. The governor is talking about climate change. Schools are talking about climate change. The media is talking about climate change. Everybody's talking about climate change. People are starting to realize how serious this is. So I think that us focusing on this with a set of demands, should set the tone for this upcoming year, 2022, and what we can expect. We gotta be able to push our leaders to the point that they have to make some serious decisions. When I hear about this, that they're going to make the changes by the year 2050, that's garbage. That's garbage. 2050 cannot. The world cannot wait for 2050.
Yeah,
The world
Carlos.
cannot wait for 2030. We need to take climate action now.
Yes, Carlos. The
Yes.
and the thing that I hear still from some people is like, oh, well, how are we going to convince the naysayers? They're a loud voice, and actually I think that they're no longer a
Go ahead, Mark.
voice.
Okay.
They're no longer a voice that matters, because everybody, the political leadership has already come to terms with the fact that this is happening, that climate change is happening, and that it needs to be addressed. So I don't think that we should worry anymore about the climate deniers. I think that we should just keep pushing our message, because the question or the argument now is no longer whether climate change is real. It's now an argument of, how soon are we going to act on it, and in what ways are we going to act in the most just and ways that are just, not just for workers but also for the environment, so that we don't end up with a disaster like this again. So we have to just keep pushing forward, and keep ourselves focused on how we're going to deal with climate change in the practical sense, and no longer worry about whether there are climate denialists, because those people are quickly becoming irrelevant.
And we lost you there for so as Marco was saying, yes, uh, the climate deniers Can you repeat that again? Because we have lost connection. We're having trouble with the connection. But again, as Margaret was saying, climate deniers are not a factor anymore. More and more, we are seeing how a lot of the in levels that we have not seen before, as far as the seriousness of it. So we are expecting to see. Are you still there, Margaret?
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello there, Margaret.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I hope you guys can hear me, that you can join us. You hope that you can participate. We hope that you can uh, allow us to work together and come together. Is very serious. Uh, the Biden administration is being pretty much uh, uh, they struggling within his own party. President Biden is struggling with his own party. His own party, not a whole bunch of them, a couple of centrists, particularly thing hold hostage. And that is the problem with the Democratic Party. They have a very serious problem. They really conservative Democrats that continue to block any kind of progress. And the case will be like we are with all these with the bills that are being presented, and we need to vote on that, and we need to move into a way that we can start getting some stuff done. But unfortunately, we have one person or two people that are blocking the progress. So the problem that that Biden is going to have is not with the Republican Party, but with members of his own party. We don't know what's going to end up happening. What we are predicting to happen is that they are going to present a very watered down bill, and they're going to vote on that. And we are not going to get anything near what is needed to move America forward. They trying to give us crumbs. What Senator Manchin had mentioned is that pretty much we need to pick maybe one out of three social programs that we can all work with. One out of three is like saying choose between water, choose between housing, or choose between healthcare. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous what Senator Manchin is proposing. He's not interested in in putting America first. It's all about himself, and he needs to stop that. And I hope that pressure continues to mount on him, because he's the type of politicians that we don't need. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He's a Democrat by name only. And that is the biggest thorn that President Biden has, is members of his own party. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Carlos? Is this any better?
Sound.
You can't hear me? Oh,
I could hear you. Just keep talking.
okay. Sorry about that. I thought that
Yes, I could.
there was Wi-Fi here, and there
I can
isn't.
hear
So
you.
this
Go
was.
ahead.
I apologize. This was just a really bad idea on my part to try to come out here this morning and do the show from outside. But I think you're talking about Joe Manchin and what's going on with the Democratic Party. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's an interesting battle. I think it's a very interesting battle for really the direction of the Democratic Party, and you know, whether it's going to go towards a more progressive side or if it's going to stay in its sort of blue dog, more conservative Democrat playground where it's been since the 90s, since the Clinton revolution. I think personally that things are changing and that the progressives are only going to get stronger from here on out because the younger generations are more progressive. And we saw that with the way that people voted on the Democratic side during the primaries in 2016 and 2020. Young people by and far supported Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton and and uh, and any other of the centrist candidates that were on the ballot. They supported Bernie Sanders over Biden, over Kamala Harris, over Klobuchar, over Buttigieg, etc. So the issue now is just how soon that's going to happen. But I actually think that this is going to happen within the next 4 to 8 years, uh, because the generation of centrists and right wing Democrats, they're all older. They're at least 60 years old. Many of them are in their 70s and 80s, and I mean, it's just a matter of how long can you wait, because they're going to have to retire. There's just no way that they can stay in office for that much longer. Nancy Pelosi, I think, is in her 80s. I mean, even Bernie Sanders. So, and Manchin, I think he's at least in his 60s. So these people, their days are numbered, literally. So it's just a matter of the progressives staying strong, staying united, and getting more progressives into office. And we're going to see this shift, and I think this is the start of it. This is the start of the shift. And Manchin is just this is just his this is like his 10 minutes in the limelight.
And then,
Like,
correct. I mean, you know, who was Senator Manchin prior to this? He took an opportunity. He's capitalizing on that. He thinks he's got a lot of power, and he does have a lot of power. But what what we are seeing right now is a system that gives one person too much power. It was the same thing with McConnell, the Republicans, where you have one person with so much power that can actually, determine, you know, the future for America, for the world. That should not be happening. Is But we need to understand politics. Whoever, people are mad at Bernie Sanders, but they are politicians, and they have to do certain things to be able to stay relevant, in the conversation. So you got to be able to look this, in a broader picture. I get upset sometimes when politics every single day. These politicians are not perfect. They're gonna make mistakes, but they need our support. The best thing we can do as a progressive movement is support those progressives that are there, and let them know that we're there for them. Because look, I organize events where everybody tells me, "Oh yeah, let's do it," and this is so exciting and everything. And then I turn around and I look behind me, and there's nobody behind me. Where's everybody at? Where's all the excitement that people promised me? Where's all the help that they promised? So the struggles are real when you have a certain position or you have room at the table. You have to make sure that your people are with you. And sometimes it may not be what you expect, or you may not have everything. But as long as you have a seat at the table with people, look, I believe that the squad, the members of the squad, all these progressives are genuine. They're for reals. Sometimes they have to make certain choices that not everybody's going to agree with. Again, I did have the pleasure of spending a little time with Congressman Ocasio, and I got to see a side of her that a lot of people don't see. And I talks with her during that time, I learned so much from that young woman. And I think that we have one of the best voices in Congress, well respected. Even the neoliberal, the kind of strength that she brings to the political world, the following that she has. So what we need to do is continue to support the efforts and encourage them, because they are human just like us. They weak, they cry, they have worries, they have rubber stamp everything. But I want to make sure that we understand that working in politics, moving through the waters of the political world are very difficult. And sometimes you have to be able to think outside the box. Strategically, you have to be able if you want to stay relevant, you know what I mean? You have to sit down with people that you don't want to sit down with. I do that. I have to sit down with people I don't want to sit down with. But I do it out of necessity to be able to move the needle forward. And the end result sometimes are very good, because we were able to accomplish what we needed to accomplish by being able to have a relationship, even with those people that we don't agree with. And when I mean a relationship, the best way to go forward. So there's many things to politics that most of us do not understand. How far we have traveled. Had it not been for Bernie Sanders, we will not be in the situation we're in right now when it comes to these kind of conversations. He has moved the movement in many ways forward. So many areas that he has focused on and has allowed us to come this far by just being Bernie Sanders and by having that voice, that platform that was created by the grassroots, and the support that he's been given. So that support needs to grow, not diminish. And yes, you're gonna have your naysayers, and yes, you're gonna have those people that are purists and that want everything. They only see the world black and white. You're gonna have a whole bunch of those, but that's okay. What we need to do is stay focused. We need to understand that, just like anything in life, there's times that we have to make adjustments. But the important thing is to stay focused. Margo, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. We apologize for the technical. One last thing that we want to talk about today, and we only have a few minutes left, but there was a big. Okay, great. So we're going to talk about public banking. And I was mentioning right now, starting to mention that one of the things that that we want to celebrate today is the fact that the city of Los Angeles voted, you know, 100% unanimously to endorse the formation of a public bank in the city of Los Angeles. It's historic. It has never happened before. Again, uh, since all the years that people have officially is being announced, it was voted on, and Los Angeles will have a public bank. And there's things that need to happen in order for that to start, but there has to be certain things done by the city, by the controller, and what have you. But we're gonna be talking a little bit more on that. But Marco, we want to take people into the. Let me share a little bit on this because it is important for us to understand how we got to where we are right now. Yes, there was a huge victory by uh, by the public banking movement here in Los Angeles. But in order for us to understand how that happened, we need to look back. And it is very important. And this reflects not only on public banking incarceration, etc., etc. There are movements that start at some point. And public banking just didn't happen right now. This has been going on for decades. We are standing in the shoulders of brave. Didn't just happen yesterday. This been going, and leader is the mother of public banking. She's been talking public banking for years when no one else was talking about it. Ellen Brown was talking public banking, an amazing advocate for public banking. So we are standing on her shoulders. This victory is because of Ellen Brown, people like Ellen Brown, because of people like others that have followed. We have to give credit where credit is due. We have movements like, for example, that North Dakota pipeline, that no DAPO. Public banking today will not be where it's at had not been for the Dakota Access Pipeline that brought attention to what big banks were doing. And it opened up the eyes of a lot of people. That led into the divestment. Many cities divested from their big banks. They realized that, big banks have been screwing us. Big banks have been, a part of the problem. So people were pulling their money out of big banks. That moved the needle forward. But there's other movements that took place. For example, the Occupy movement. The Occupy movement brought about a change of conversation where it was exposed the fraud the banks were committing. And because of that, there was the opportunity to be able to talk about public banking. So we have warriors out there. We have people that gave everything, that were really public banking. They were laughed at, but their voices were loud and clear that the answer was public banking, and they never gave up. They kept fighting for it, doing home occupations when they were occupying homes. The blame was being put on big banks. And the answer that the people were saying, because I remember I was saying stuff like this, is what is the solution? People they used to ask. And I said, we need to have public bankings. People were advocating for public bankings when he was not famous, when he was not relevant, when people didn't want to talk about it. I remember people saying to some of the advocates for public banking, go get a job. You don't know what you're talking about. But they persisted, they insisted, and they continued to push forward with the idea that public banking was a solution that is needed for today's economies. So we stand. And the way I see any kind of movement, or in this case, the movement of public banking, is like a relay race. And each time, each quarter of a mile, the baton is given to the next runner. And they all run together, and they all not together, but they all run their race, their section, and they take it as far as they can. And then he gives the baton to the other one, and then to the other one, to the other one. Eventually, somebody crosses the finish line. But the victory belongs to the movement, not to one person or to the people that cross the line. It belongs to the movement. And I say this because it's very important, and we need to understand that any movement, whether it's the labor movement, whether it's the movement for fair housing, there's been tremendous leaders that have fought and gave everything to move the needle forward. And we must insist that credit must be given to everyone that has participated in this. Everyone deserves the credit. There's not one person that takes the credit. The credit belongs to everybody. The people, the politicians that voted on this. I remember going to City Hall. They didn't want to hear about public banking. We were laughed at when we showed up over there at City Hall to talk about public banking. They didn't want to hear about it. But this past week, every single city councilman voted in favor. It's not because they all of a sudden they saw the light and they like, oh my God, we have public banking and that's a good thing. No, it took certain conditions to line up. So for them to understand, including all the things that I mentioned, the divestment, the occupations of homes, the pushing for the Occupy movement, changing the conversation, the financial crisis. All these are conditions that prepare the ground to what happened last week. And when that happened, the you know the public banking movement celebrated the victory that belongs to everyone that have been in the trenches for a long time, including the North Dakota pipeline water protectors. Without them, there would have not been no divestmentization. Ellen Brown, an amazing advocate, the mother of public banking. Without her, there would be no public banking today. So we stand in their shoulders today, and we congratulate them for the achievements that have taken place, and to the politicians forward under pressure because of the conditions that we are facing. They realize that yes, all these people were right. We need public banking. That's the way to go. So today I want to honor them, and I want to celebrate the victory here in Los Angeles by giving the biggest shout out to all the advocates that have fought really hard for public banking. And our love and our gratitude to our amazing mother of public banking, Ellen Brown. Margo, are you still there? Go ahead, Margaret.
AirPods. Sorry, Carlos. Yes. So, absolutely, the struggle for public banking has been one that has
Margaret?
taken a decade or so to do, but that's like most anything, change does happen overnight, but it's the process to
Go.
get to that point, to shift the narrative. That's the part that takes the longest. And we're seeing that now. And we're seeing that in a lot of areas. I think this is a very important moment in our history of this part of the 21st century, that this is actually a major moment of transition and change. And if we can keep putting pressure, I think that we will be able to see change that we want. We we will see a lot of struggle and suffering, but I think we can actually win this if we just stay focused. So the public banking wins. I mean, that's just one example of what we can accomplish. Carlos.
Yes. So with that, we're going to call it today. We are going to thank you for watching us on this episode of Stand Up Fight Back. We're very excited for the things to come. And if there's lessons that we have learned through the public banking movement, we can cross the line, but it's going to take each single person, and it's going to take different moments in life. It's going to take circumstances. It's going to take deep research, sacrifices. It's going to take so much from all of us in whatever the movement is, whatever the social uh, justice movement that you're following, that you're concerned about, that you are deeply touched by, that you are involved with. Don't give up. Continue to do your part. We stand in the shoulders of great people that have done so much for different movements. So it is time for us to celebrate them as well, and recognize that no matter what, even if I cross the line with the baton, that victory belongs to everyone within the movement that have fought and done so much for to get us to where we need to go. There's more wins to come. We gotta fight for the unhoused. We gotta fight for fair housing, just housing, affordable housing for students that are in debt to their lives on student debt, for against police brutality. All those movements that continue to grow. You know, we are seeing the path that we need to take. Yes, it's tough, but together we can do it, people. Again, our love, our respect to our Native American community as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Those are my last words. Go ahead, um, Margaret.
Carlos, I'm pretty delayed. I don't know if you can hear me, but I think I'm just going to say thank you for watching. We'll be back next Sunday and I'll have a better connection. So thank you. You've been watching Stand Up Fight Back.